Yes, so these were the properties we were discussing yesterday about homomorphisms. So let me move ahead with the next topic in the continuation of the same ring homomorphism. Right. So we have already done the properties. So that was theorem 1. So now this is, you can say, theorem number 2. In this, we want to prove that kernels are ideals. Right. So how a kernel is defined. So this I gave you yesterday as well. Let phi be a ring homomorphism from R to S. Then, how do you define kernel of a ring? So, kernel of phi is R belongs to R, phi of R is 0, is an ideal of R. So, yesterday I told you the definition of the kernel, that if we have a ring R and we have another ring S and there is a mapping defined which happens to be a homomorphism, then we can define a subset of the ring R, which is denoted by kernel phi. So it contains all those elements R belongs to R whose image which are mapped to zero element of the ring S. So we want to prove that this kernel is an ideal. So it has a very easy proof. So any ring, any subset you want to prove an ideal, so it's very easy to see that first thing will justify that kernel of phi is non-empty. Okay, let's not use that notation because phi is we are denoting for the mapping. So we want to prove kernel of phi is non-empty set. Yes, why it is non-empty? Because 0 definitely belongs to kernel phi. So 0 belongs to R is an element such that phi of 0 is 0. So 0 element is always mapped to the 0 element. How can you prove this? That 0 element is mapped to 0 element? Can you prove this one? Yes, did you get the question?
Ma'am, phi of 0 can be written as phi of 0 plus 0.
Then
And then since phi is a homomorphism, so then we can open it to be phi of 0 plus phi of 0.
yes.
And then we can just subtract it, so वो equal to 0 आ जाएगा.
That way also you can do, and this you can do this also. That just a minute. Let me connect the charger. Just a minute. Let me connect the charger. Disconnected. मेरा लैपटॉप स्विच ऑफ हो जाएगा नहीं तो. Okay. Yeah. So now I'm here. So where we were, phi at 0 will be. Oh my god. What's happening? Just a minute. It's fluctuating. The power is fluctuating. So phi of 0 into R can be written like phi of R be any element. So it's 0. 0 multiplied by anything is 0. So that way also you can prove, and the way you have explained is also right. So the homomorphism always maps 0 to 0. So since 0 is always mapped to 0, so that means this kernel at least always contains the zero element. So this proves it's a non-empty set. Now we want to prove it is an ideal. So for proving ideal, we know that what we need to prove that let A and B belongs to kernel phi. So we want to show that A minus B also belongs to kernel phi. So phi of A minus B is phi A minus phi B. This is coming from the same property. Phi of A plus B is phi A plus phi B. So if you replace B with minus B, right, in this property, so it will be phi of A plus phi of minus B, and then minus can be taken as outside because minus can be treated as the B has been multiplied with minus 1. So with the property we have phi of nr is n phi r. So whatever is the integer that comes outside, okay, no doubt it's for integers, positive integers, but you can do that. So this minus can come outside from here, and this way you will get like that. So this is done. So phi of A minus B is phi A minus phi B. Individually A and B belongs to kernel phi, so their images are 0. So it implies A minus B also is mapped to 0. Therefore A minus B belongs there. What is the next property you want to show? This is the first property. The next property is let R belongs to R be any general element. Then we want to show that A into R belongs to the ideal which we want to prove kernel phi for all A belongs to kernel phi. So phi of AR is, yes, this is phi of A into phi of R. Is this true? Because that's the definition of the homomorphism, that it is preserving the operation. So it's preserving the operation. So this is done. So what is phi of A? This is 0 into phi of R. This is 0. So whatever is R, whether R belongs to the kernel or not, but this product is definitely coming out to be 0. So it implies phi of AR is 0. It implies AR belongs to kernel phi for all A belongs to kernel phi and R belongs to R. So this proves that kernel of phi is an ideal, right, of the ring R. Now we just proved this is an ideal. So now we will connect it with factor ring. So what is the factor ring which we are going to construct here with kernel of phi? Because we know that to define a factor ring, so if I have R is a ring and I be an ideal, then only this R by I is going to make sense. So we have now shown kernel phi is an ideal. We have just proved this one. So using this kernel phi as an ideal, I'm going to define a factor ring. So this is my next theorem, you can say, which says that let phi be a ring homomorphism from R to S, then the mapping from R by kernel phi. So all of you can understand now this R by kernel phi is a well-defined factor ring because it's an ideal. To phi of R defined by R plus kernel phi is mapped to phi of R is an isomorphism. Symbolically, R by kernel phi is isomorphic to phi of R, right? This is what the theorem result says, that this is going to be isomorphic, right? So I'm not going to do its proof. इसका proof हम नहीं कर रहे हैं. This is just a result. We are directly going to use this one. So this is a very important result. So what you need to understand from this result is that in general you have two rings R and S. So R and S may not be isomorphic to each other, right? We have R, we have S. So S is acting as a codomain. R is a domain, S is acting as a codomain of the map phi. So we know that if you just map the all the elements of R, so the image set, which is the range set or the image set of the ring R under the map phi, is going to be a subset of S. It's true. It's just known from the definition of the functions. That's going to be a subset of S. So now we are saying that this R by kernel phi, if you define as a separate ring, this is not going to be a subset of R. This is just going to be an entirely different ring, which, what is the ring? R by kernel phi. From here to, if you take phi of R, so this is going to be an isomorphic mapping. So whatever notation you can use, a new map you can define, say psi. So this psi map is going to be an isomorphism, and this is how it is denoted. So this result is going to be used in many other results, so you need to remember that. So is the statement clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So what does this tell you? What this theorem means? What is the utility of knowing this result? So the benefit is that you just need one homomorphism, and from that homomorphism you can generate another map which is an isomorphism, right? So you can find isomorphic rings to each other, and it's a very, uh, fundamental question in algebra, or fundamental results, or these are the things we are looking for. We have an algebraic structure, can we find another algebraic structure which is isomorphic to it? So isomorphic is like the number of elements in both are going to be same. Obviously, when we are dealing with infinite rings, we do not use this terminology, the number of elements. We just say they are similar, they are equivalent, their cardinality is same. That means every element is having a unique image, because isomorphic maps are 1 1 and not 2. So we are always looking for whether you have some isomorphic image, or isomorphic, you have another algebraic structure which is isomorphic to the given one. So this is the benefit of this theorem, that from homomorphism we can generate isomorphic maps using the kernel, because kernel is always there. For every map you can always define the kernel. No, doesn't matter whatever is the set kernel phi, it can be just containing only one element also, kernel phi, but can be zero also, but whatever it is, this is the general result which we will be using. So let me just give you example for this theorem. We'll take specific rings. So if you take mapping from zx to z, right? So the left side I have the ring of polynomials over integers, the integer coefficients, and the right hand side I have the ring which is exactly integer. So how I'm defining this map? Phi of fx, because in zx there are going to be polynomials, so this fx happens to be a polynomial. So phi of fx is equal to f of 0. So I can always do that, because from any given polynomial I can always substitute 0, and then we can find the map of it, image of it. So this is a well-defined map you can verify. So this happens to be a homomorphism. It's very easy to prove that. Okay, so you can verify that this phi is homomorphism. So every element, every polynomial is mapped to its constant value, is f of 0. Right. So now what is kernel of phi? Can you find kernel of phi?
Ma'am, any linear polynomial?
Any linear polynomial?
Ma'am, because f of x gets mapped to f of 0.
What is kernel of phi?
With the
Ma'am,
constant.
f of 0 gives you 0.
Yeah. Just a minute, let me write the definition. So kernel of phi contains all those fx belonging to zx such that phi of fx is 0. So that means it contains all those polynomials over integer with constant term 0, because phi of fx is 0 means f of 0 is 0. So f of 0 is 0 because given any polynomial you have, say fx, an, xn, an minus 1, xn minus 1 plus a naught. So all of us knows that f of 0 is going to be just the constant term, because in all other terms when you will be putting x equals to 0, so f of 0 is going to be exactly the constant term. So f of 0 is 0 means a naught is 0, means it contains all those polynomials with constant term 0. Is that clear? We just connected f of 0 equals to 0 with the constant term. Right? So it contains all those polynomials with constant terms 0. Now, what are those polynomials? Okay, we got there are infinitely many polynomials like that, but can you give me a precise notation for the same? Can I write something for this? Because I know it's an ideal. So is there a generating element of that ideal? We have done,
X.
yeah, x. Because when constant term is 0, so we know the x can always be taken outside. So whenever fx is an, xn, and so on, and the last term happens to be, say, a1 into x, because a naught तो नहीं है वहाँ पे, 0 होगा. So you can always take x common and you can write it something like this. So all the polynomials of this kind are going to be multiple of x. So we know that they are generated by x, because this is the principal ideal. This is a notation for principal ideal generated by x. So that's how it is. So that means we just show that kernel of phi is an ideal, but actually this is happening to be a principal ideal generated by x, right? So using the theorem 3, which I just gave you the statement, that because now you are able to characterize your kernel, so the ring, if you divide it with kernel phi, sorry, I should not use the word divide, it's factor, zx factored with kernel phi should be isomorphic to the phi of z. And what is phi of z? Phi, we will see that. So z of x by kernel phi is isomorphic to phi z. Sorry.
Should be phi zx. Phi
Yes.
of
Yes. Phi zx. So yeah, what is kernel phi? This is zx by x. So this is isomorphic to. Now what is phi zx? What is phi of zx? Yes, what is phi of zx? Let me give you the phi map again.
phi of fx is phi f0.
F of 0. So that means it's mapping the polynomial to its constant term. So yeah, so actually there is a result which they have used here, is that this is going to be isomorphic to z, because phi is basically defined like zx to z given by this. Now from this result, means this is a result, and you can use you can imply something about this kernel phi, that whether this kernel phi happens to be a prime ideal or maximal ideal. So in the previous lecture we had those theorems that R by I is an integral domain if and only if I is a prime ideal, and R by I is a field if and only if I is a maximal ideal. So this is R by I is isomorphic to this, but Z is what? Z is an integral domain, not a field. So this can give you the information that this is a prime ideal, not a maximal ideal, right? So this is just additional information. about this, what we are implying from here means, this is example which I have shown you is to connect the various results along with this, and because you whatever are the properties of this, the same are the properties of this. So you can use that information to derive further results and connect it with the concepts you have already studied. So let me go ahead with the next result. So we have, let me give you the field of quotients. Let me define the field of quotients. Although ये भी हम field theory में detail में पढ़ेंगे, but for here we are going to define it because it's connected with the concept of factor ring. So the field of coefficients we can define. Now this, what do you mean by field of coefficients is that you do have rings which are not the fields, but at least it is contained in some field. Okay, the rings, for example, if you take the example of z, z is not a field itself, but it is a contained in a field which is, say, we know that rational numbers. So can we make a field out of integers, not going towards the rational numbers, but just giving you the concept, like here you have p and q belongs to z. So we know that if we do p by q, this belongs to rational numbers. Of course, q is non-zero. So you see the division, the quotients when we are introducing, so that is kind of, we are constructing the elements, we are constructing those elements which are required to be there to make the same ring as a field. So can we do this in general for any ring which is not a field, but can we do something with it so that using their elements of that ring we can construct a field? So that is known as field of quotients. So from there we get the result of our we get the next result which will help us to identify that this is what is happening. So first thing is, let me give you the statement and then you can figure it out yourself. Let D be an integral domain, then there exists a field F called the field of quotients of D that contains a subring isomorphic to T, right? So this is what is the result. So let's first prove this one and then we will see where is the example and how it is applied to different examples to construct field. Now we are going towards the construction of fields using the integral domain and using this concept of quotients. So basically quotients will be connected with the factor ring. You will see all things when get connected, right? So let S be AB, A and B both are elements of D, B be non-zero. So you can now think how I have taken this set S. So it's similar to this. As I just shown you here कि integers से rationals पे जाने के लिए what you need to do is, आपको दो integer numbers चाहिए, उनको आप divide करोगे. Obviously जिसको divide कर रहे हो the denominator is non-zero, only then it makes sense. तो वो जो number होगा वो rational number होगा, और we know rational number is a field because the set of rational numbers is a field. So we are using the similar analogy here. अब ये जनरल कर रहे हैं तो जरूरी नहीं ये इंटीजर्स हैं, तो हमने दो नंबर्स लिए हैं. अब उनमें ऑपरेशन क्या होगा, उनको डिवाइड करेंगे या कैसे करेंगे, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन व्हाट ऑपरेशन वी डिफाइन. सो इन जनरल वी से वी हैव टेकन अ पेयर, we have taken a pair a comma b, ordered pair, where both a and b are elements of the integral domain and b is a non-zero element. So it's similar to this कि we have considered two elements p and q belonging to the set S, where both p and q individually belongs to integers and q is non-zero. So this is the example and this is the general way to write this. Now we define an equivalence class. Means how do we define an equivalence class? Means that what elements are equal or equivalent, I should say. So you define an element AB is equivalent to another element CD if AD is BC. Now this is the same thing जैसे हम रैशनल नंबर्स में करते हैं कि 2/4 और 1/2 दे आर इक्वल, राइट? अगर आप अब इन जनरल इसको देखो एज अ ऑर्डर्ड पेयर, इसको देखोगे दिस इज 2/4, दिस इज 1/2. सो अगर मैं ऑर्डर्ड पेयर लिखती हूँ तो मैं ये नहीं लिख सकती हूँ. आई कैन नॉट राइट 2,4 इज इक्वल टू 1,2. इट इज इक्वलेंट टू 1,2 बिकॉज if I define the operation between 2 and 4 as a division operation, just like in this example, then I know 2/4 is same as 1/2 because 2 into 2 is 1 into 4. So A into D is B into C. So यहाँ पे मैं आपको एक एग्जाम्पल में करके दिखा रही हूँ और सिमिलर हम यहाँ एक जनरल वे में भी वैसे ही डिफाइन कर रहे हैं that two elements of this type are considered to be equivalent if AD is equal to BC. So equivalence relations डिफाइन करने का क्या बेनिफिट होता है कि आपका जो सेट है, जो मेन सेट है, वो क्लासेस में डिवाइड हो जाता है. वहां से इक्विवेलेंस क्लासेस जनरेट हो जाती हैं. जैसे अब ये 2/4 है, उसके बाद 4/8 होगा, 3/6 होगा, तो ये सारे एक इक्विवेलेंस क्लास में आ जाएंगे. दे ऑल आर इक्विवेलेंट टू 1/2 एंड सिमिलरली देयर इज अनदर इक्विवेलेंस क्लास. सो इक्विवेलेंस रिलेशंस डिफाइन करने से आपका जो ओरिजिनल सेट है दैट गेट्स डिवाइडेड इनटू वेरियस क्लासेस. सो उससे बहुत सारी इक्विवेलेंस क्लासेस जनरेट होती हैं. सो नाउ लेट एफ बी द सेट ऑफ equivalence classes of S under the relation this. तो जो हमने ये इक्विवेलेंस रिलेशन डिफाइन किया है उसको डिफाइन करने के बाद आपका सेट वेरियस इक्विवेलेंस क्लासेस में डिवाइड हो जाएगा. सो जितनी भी इक्विवेलेंस क्लासेस बनेंगी, वी आर नॉट काउंटिंग देम बिकॉज दे आर इनफाइनाइट हियर. जितनी भी इक्विवेलेंस क्लासेस बनेंगी उनका एक अलग सेट बनाओ. लेट दैट सेट बी F. सो सेम इज हियर. आप यहाँ पे भी समझ सकते हो. अब ये सारे रैशनल नंबर्स जो 1/2 के इक्वल हैं, सो 1/2 इज जस्ट वन एलिमेंट ऑफ रैशनल नंबर, राइट? तो अगर आपको कहता है 2/4 और 1/2, you will say they are one in the same number which is equal to 0.5, 1/2. Similarly 3/6 is same as 1/2. Okay, although 3 and 6 are two different integers, but they lie in one equivalence class. So 1/2 represents just one element of the rational number. 2/4 is not different from 1/2. Same is here. For 2/8 they are same as 1/4. 3/12 this is same as 1/4. So हर इक्विवेलेंस क्लास का एक यूनिक एलिमेंट जो है, यू पिक अप दैट एंड वहां से हम फील्ड कंस्ट्रक्ट करेंगे, राइट? जस्ट गिव मी वन मोमेंट. हेलो. जी, so we are back here. So we have to, that is how we define this set F. तो अब ये जो सेट आपने डिफाइन किया है F, इसके ऊपर हम ऑपरेशंस डिफाइन करेंगे बिकॉज अब हमें पता चल गया है कि जो F के एलिमेंट्स हैं वो डिफरेंट डिफरेंट इक्विवेलेंस क्लासेस हैं, वो सेट्स हैं containing all the elements belonging to one particular class. So let me define this. So denote the equivalence class एलिमेंट x, y by x by y. तो ये वही नोटेशन पे जा रहे हैं जो एक्चुअल में हम इंटीजर्स और रैशनल्स के लिए यूज करते हैं, जो जहां से मैंने स्टार्ट किया था. इट्स एग्जैक्टली फॉलोइंग द सिमिलर लाइंस. तो वो ऑर्डर्ड पेयर जो स्टार्ट किया था वो कह रहे हैं इसको डिनोट कर दो बाय x by y. So this is the notation because that is more understandable to us. And now we define on the set F two operations, addition and multiplication. राइट, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली हमें फील्ड कंस्ट्रक्ट करना है ना. सो फील्ड कंस्ट्रक्शन के लिए हमें एलिमेंट्स चाहिए. सो एडिशन एंड मल्टीप्लिकेशन ऑन एफ वी आर गोइंग टू डिफाइन. सो हाउ डू द एलिमेंट्स ऑफ फील्ड एफ लुक्स लाइक a by b and c by d because I have changed the notation instead of. आप ऑर्डर्ड पेयर में भी देखो अपनी सारी ये जो थ्योरम का प्रूफ है कंटिन्यू कर सकते हो, बट दिस इज मोर कन्वीनियंट द फैक्टर नोटेशन बिकॉज they want to connect it with the field of quotients, right? So that's why the notation is being changed. So A by B plus C by D. So how this is defined? AD plus BC by BD. We know this is how the usual addition of two rational numbers takes place. And how do they are multiplied? AC by BD. So notice that here we need the fact. Now, one thing is there that because it's we assumed something. Let me just go back to the previous page. यहाँ पे हमने जब S set define किया था, so we know that it is A comma B. B is non-zero. So this A by B, this X by Y, this Y is non-zero. So that means B is non-zero and D is non-zero. So if B is non-zero, D is non-zero. This implies BD is non-zero. Why this is so? Why this is so?
Ma'am, because D is an integral domain.
Yes, because D is an integral domain. Because the elements आपने जहाँ से elements उठाए हैं D से वो integral domain है. So that means it will justify कि जिस तरीके से हमने ये addition और multiplication define किया है उसका भी denominator जो है non-zero है. So it's defined. It's a well-defined rule for addition and multiplication because BD is non-zero. Now, so इट्स नाउ वी आर शोइंग ओके. एक तो हमने वैलिड मतलब बता दिया कि ये जो ऑपरेशंस हमने डिफाइन किए हैं, मींस ये जो एलिमेंट हमने डिफाइन किया है, दिस आल्सो बिलोंग्स टू द सेट एस या एफ because the denominator is non-zero. So now we have to show that these operations are well defined. In this sense, if you suppose there are two elements which are same, because अगर आपने a by b एक एलिमेंट लिया है फील्ड का, सो ये फील्ड के एलिमेंट्स हैं, these are the elements of f जो आपने सेट डिफाइन किया है. अब उसमें एक एलिमेंट इज बिलोंगिंग टू वन इक्विवेलेंस क्लास, बट सेम इक्विवेलेंस क्लास में बहुत सारे एलिमेंट हैं. जस्ट लाइक आई टोल्ड यू दिस 1/2 is same as 2/4 is 3/6, right? So belonging to one equivalent class there are more than one elements. So let a by b is also same as some a dash by b dash, and c by d is also same as some c dash by d dash. So this means ab dash is a dash b and cd dash is c dash d. सो वी वॉन्ट टू प्रूव दैट कि अगर हम इनको चेंज कर देते हैं, मीन्स a बाई बी इज चेंज टू सम अदर एलिमेंट एंड c बाई d इज चेंज टू सम अदर एलिमेंट ऑफ द सेम इक्विवेलेंट क्लास, then this also remains valid. Final answer is still going to be means the same operation is going to remain valid. It's the same thing जो trivial है कि चाहे आप 2/4 प्लस 3/12 करो या 1/2 plus 1/4 करो, the answer is going to be same. You multiply and divide or you add in the same way as you do for this and you do for this. This is what we mean कि जो हमने operation define किया है, this will preserve the equivalence of the classes. अब यहाँ पे मैं आपको जो example दे रही हूँ, यहाँ से आपको लग रहा होगा कि this is very trivial, this is known to everyone, right? कि ये होता है, but वो इसलिए हमें लगता है because we are so much used to, you know, do these things since our childhood. We know we are always so much comfortable with integers and rational numbers. We know this is trivial, but the proof which we are doing is not only for rationals or integers. This is for a general integral domain, general field, right? So that elements may not be the elements of always rationals or integers. So that's why we need to prove that even if you choose the element, some other element of the same equivalence class, then also the same way this addition is defined. So let me just do that. So this a by b plus c by d, how do we define the addition? AD plus BC by BD. So now I know a by b is same as a dash by b dash. So AB dash is A dash B, CD dash is C dash D. So if you consider AD plus BC into B dash D dash, if you just consider that, and you open up the brackets, you do the multiplication. So what is that you're going to get? AD B dash D dash plus BC B dash D dash, because somehow I want to use this, right? So I need to have multiplication with B dash and D dash. So this can be AB dash into dd dash, because commutativity is given to me because d is an integral domain, so I can use that property. B B dash C D dash. So what is AB dash? This is A dash B. And what is CD dash is C dash D. So from here I can see that what I can take common is BD. So I'll be left with A dash D dash plus B dash C dash into BD. So BD and BD is coming in both. So I've taken that common and I get this. So what was on the left hand side? So it implies AD plus BC by BD is same as A dash plus D dash by B dash C dash by B dash C dash. So you see that is equal, right? So this is what we wanted to prove, that even if you uh, replace the elements A, B with their C, D with their equivalent elements belonging to the same equivalence class, then also this is well defined. And similarly, you can show that operation of multiplication is well defined. Just like you have shown the operation of addition is well defined, multiplication is rather easy. सिर्फ replace करना है आपको, वो हो जाएगा. Now, F is a, we want to prove F is a field. तो जब आपने अब ये operations prove कर दिए, आपने एफ कैसे डिफाइन किया था, ये वाला. अब आपने ऑपरेशंस प्रूव कर दिए, एक एफ सेट कंस्ट्रक्ट कर दिया, उसके ऊपर एडिशन डिफाइंड है, मल्टीप्लिकेशन डिफाइंड है. तो अब फील्ड प्रूव करने के लिए और क्या क्या चीजें चाहिए होती हैं आपको, राइट? सो व्हाट यू नीड टू प्रूव इज द रेस्ट ऑफ द प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ द फील्ड. सो आपको ग्रुप अंडर एडिशन, ग्रुप अंडर मल्टीप्लिकेशन. सो मैं दो तीन प्रॉपर्टीज आपको करके दिखाऊंगी, बाकी आप खुद से प्रूव कर सकते हो. अब जैसे आपने व्हाट इज द एडिटिव आइडेंटिटी ऑफ द फील्ड? एडिटिव आइडेंटिटी 0/1.
0/1.
हाँ, 0/1 can act as additive identity, right? Now 1, ये एलिमेंट जो है it is of the type A by B where B is non-zero. अब हमने B क्या लिया है particularly? 1. So are we sure कि 1 belongs to D? Yes, because D is an integral domain. So it is a commutative ring with unity. So D में unity है already. और 0 एलिमेंट तो हर रिंग में होता ही है, तो A तो है डेफिनेटली इज देयर, बट 1 का हमने श्योर कर लिया, सो 1 बिलोंग्स टू देयर. सो दिस 0/1 एक्ट्स एज एडिटिव आइडेंटिटी. सो व्हाट इज द मल्टीप्लिकेटिव आइडेंटिटी? Multiplicative identity of F will be 1/1, which is 1, because that's how it is. So yeah, and then we have the additive inverse. What is additive inverse of F? A by B का इनवर्स क्या होगा? माइनस A by B. So because it's easy to see, because ultimately जो A एलिमेंट है आपका D का है, और D is an integral domain, D is already a ring, तो D में हमें पता है हर एलिमेंट का एडिटिव इनवर्स होगा. सो अगर A belongs to D है, सो हमें पता है कि माइनस A will also belongs to D, the additive inverse of A in D. So this minus A belongs to D and B is already there. So minus A by B is the additive inverse of, means मैं F लिख रही हूँ, but this is additive inverse of elements of F. And what is the multiplicative inverse? Of F? B by A. अब मल्टीप्लिकेटिव इनवर्स हमें चाहिए होता है सिर्फ नॉन जीरो एलिमेंट का. So B by A is multiplicative inverse of A by B. Obviously A is non-zero, B is non-zero. क्योंकि जब भी हम A by B लिख रहे हैं तो B को तो वैसे ही non-zero होना है, राइट, वो तो डेफिनेशन का पार्ट है। अब ए भी नॉन जीरो होगा बिकॉज हम नॉन जीरो एलिमेंट का ही मल्टीप्लिकेटिव इनवर्स देखते हैं, एंड सिंस ए इज नॉन जीरो सो दिस बी बाय ए इज ऑल्सो अ वेल डिफाइंड एलिमेंट। सो यही मेन प्रूव करनी होती हैं चीजें। आपने आइडेंटिटी ढूंढ ली है, मल्टीप्लिकेटिव इनवर्स ढूंढ लिए, एडिटिव इनवर्स ढूंढ लिया, मल्टीप्लिकेटिव आइडेंटिटी, और बाकी जो प्रॉपर्टीज हैं बहुत ट्रिवियल हैं, associative laws, distributive laws. So you can very easily verify them. So this will prove that F is going to be a field because आपने show कर दिया कि उसमें आपने जो इस तरह के एलिमेंट्स लिए हैं they are going to have their multiplicative inverses. This shows that F is a field. Right, so this is what we wanted to construct, this is what we wanted to show. If you go by the statement, what we were in the process of, we were in the process of constructing field of quotients, right, जिसको हम जैसे जो हमने मैंने आपको नोटेशन दिया था फैक्टर रिंग, जिसको हम फैक्टर रिंग बोल रहे हैं, तो फैक्टर रिंग को कोशेंट रिंग भी बोला जाता है, फैक्टर ग्रुप को कोशेंट ग्रुप भी बोला जाता है। अब वो रिंग में ही है, बट अब हमारी जो स्पेसिफिक रिंग है, एक वहां से हमने फील्ड ऑफ कोशेंट्स कैसे कंस्ट्रक्ट करना है वो हमने शो किया है। उसके लिए हमारी बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है कि हमारे पास स्टार्टिंग में एक इंटीग्रल डोमेन होना चाहिए, राइट। तो इंटीग्रल डोमेन को यूज करके हम उसमें से एक फील्ड ऑफ कोशेंट्स कंस्ट्रक्ट कर सकते हैं, राइट। अब इसका ये इतना सा पार्ट रह गया, दैट कंटेन्स अ सब रिंग आइसोमॉर्फिक टू डी। ओके, अब आइसो होमोमॉर्फिज्म आप डिफाइन करोगे, वहां से आप एक आइसोमॉर्फिज्म भी डिफाइन कर सकते हो। सो लेट मी जस्ट ऐड टू दिस। तो अब अगर हम एक मैप डिफाइन करते हैं फ्रॉम डी टू एफ such that phi of x goes to x by 1, right. So this is phi of x is going from is goes from x to x by 1, so it's like an identity mapping, right। जैसे 2 goes to 2 by 1, 3 goes to 3 by 1, मतलब अगर आप इंटीजर्स से रैशनल्स का एक मैप कंस्ट्रक्ट करो, सो बेसिकली आइडेंटिटी मैप अगर हम कंस्ट्रक्ट करते हैं कि सेम टू सेम ही चला जाए, डिनोमिनेटर में हमने कुछ लेना था तो हमने उसको 1 ले लिया जस्ट टू शो कि वो Q का एलिमेंट है। सो सेम इज हियर, ये x by 1 looks like an element of f, but actually we know that it is x only. So basically this is nothing but identity map only. Every element just goes to itself. So this map happens to be 1 1 and on 2, means if you just consider its image to be phi d, if you just say this map phi is isomorphism from d to phi d, actually phi d is going to be d only because ये d है, ये f है। अब यहाँ पे एलिमेंट्स हैं, x is going to x by 1, so x by 1 is basically अगर उसका सेंस देखा जाए वो x ही है, but it will form a subset here phi of t. So this d to phi d if you will see, because field में तो और भी एलिमेंट्स होंगे, फील्ड में तो x by 2 भी होगा, x by 3 भी होगा, x by 4 भी होगा। मुझे 2 3 4 नहीं लिखना है यहाँ पे बिकॉज उससे ऐसे लगता है कि हम इंटीजर से ही डील कर रहे हैं, और यहाँ भी ये x by 1 लिखने का मतलब ये नहीं है कि 1 जो है इंटीजर ही है, 1 इज डिनोटिंग द मल्टीप्लिकेटिव आइडेंटिटी वॉट एवर इट कैन बी। सो अगर आप d to phi d कंसिडर करते हो, सो दिस इज हैपनिंग टू बी आइसोमॉर्फिज्म। इसका हम प्रूफ बाद में करेंगे। So this is like if you have an integral domain and if you have a field, so between them you can construct a map which is homomorphism, and from that you can construct another map which is isomorphism. So itna part iska rehta hai, remaining is done. So what we'll do after this, so use this result to construct fields, हम fields construct कर सकते हैं, and these fields are known as field of quotients, right। So that's all for today. In case you have any doubts, you can ask me next time. You just go through the proof of this and check LMS for any updates. I'll be uploading few details and information there regarding your test evaluation. Yeah, so that's all for today. Thank you.